You're listening to the unofficial podcast of Patreon. Patreon Podcast. Creative people pursuing their passions.
Hi, my name is Chris Cowan, and this is Patreon Podcast, the unofficial podcast of Patreon, where you get to meet creative and inspiring people, find out how you can be a part of their project, and maybe even get a little bit of insight into your own creative journey as well. I would like to give a very warm welcome to Marty LeGros. Do you go by Marty? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, on my books, I'm M. Alice, but to everybody else, I'm just Marty.
Okay, cool. I got it right. There's so many different names you could go by. So,
Right.
Awesome. So I just wanted to. You are a party princess. You dress up as a princess, and you show up at parties, usually invited, and you're there to be the princess for all the little girls at their birthday parties. So before we get into all that, and so as part of how that ties into Patreon is you have a blog and you draw cartoons about that experience, right?
Mm-hmm. Although I'm also a superhero sometimes, and sometimes
really?
a pirate.
Awesome. I didn't know. See, I didn't know that. That's cool. So not just limited to princesses. You're all kinds of different things. What kind of superheroes?
Supergirl, mostly.
Of course. Yeah.
You know, that sort of thing. But we also have, like a Wonder Woman and all that. And lots of pirates.
Cool.
Everybody loves a pirate party.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So outside of that particular aspect of your life that you blog and you draw cartoons about your experience as a princess and superhero and pirate, tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? Do you like how generic and open-ended that question is?
Right. I thought that was really great. That was a great segue. I'm a comic book artist, and I live in Philadelphia, and I have a degree in comic books. I have a BFA in sequential art, which is a thing you can get.
Awesome.
Apparently. And I know, and a lot of people think that's not true. It totally is.
Yeah.
And let's see. We're just coming up on, this is the 10-year anniversary of my comic book series, Bizengast. So that's kind of exciting. I've been doing that since college.
Awesome.
And I don't know. I'm just kind of like a goofy kind of person who has a lot of very odd jobs. And princessing is one of them.
That's cool. So you said you've been drawing comic books for 10 years?
Yep.
Wow. Awesome. Are
the same series for 10 years.
That is impressive. That takes some dedication. And these are actually published independently, or you?
No, they're published through Tokyo Pop. So they're actually available in over a dozen languages and over 15 countries.
That is awesome. See, I only knew about the princess thing, and I knew you did cartooning and had worked on some stuff, but I had no idea the depth of your work and multi-talentedness. So that's awesome. I applaud you.
Oh,
that's great.
No, it's the princess thing is pretty recent. Most people actually just mostly know about the comic book.
Cool.
So,
well, that's great. So let's talk a little bit about your craft, which normally isn't this challenging, but because there's so many different elements to you. There's so many different creative venues you pursue. You blog. You draw comics, and you're a party princess. So we'll probably be talking mostly about the party princess thing, since that's kind of what the other aspects are focused around it, at least in terms of your Patreon page. So let's start with princess parties. How did you get started doing princess parties? And did I lose you?
No, you just got me back right at the very end.
Okay.
There's kind of a big thunderstorm in Philadelphia right now, so
nice.
Usually we don't lose power, but if we do, I'll be sure to call you and let you know.
Okay, all right. So I got you back then. So how did you get started doing princess parties?
Well, I needed a part-time job, and my friend Becky, who princesses down in Maryland, said, well, why don't you do what I do? And I said, no, I can't do that. I'm no good with kids. I don't like kids. She said, well, it's $50 an hour. Get in there. And so I just emailed a bunch of companies around me, basically just Googling party princess companies. And I heard back from all of them. And then
Oh, wow.
I chose the nearest one and started working for them. And so, yeah, I just kind of like fell into it. People say, how'd you get the job? I was like, well, I asked for it.
Nice.
Well, I asked. The end.
Well, hey, there you go. Short, sweet, and to the point. So you've how long have you been doing this?
Oh my gosh, over 2 years.
Okay,
Say almost 2.5 years now.
awesome. And so, at what point? What made you decide? Hey, this is something I should, blog about and draw cartoons about and stuff.
Well, I was on my way to a birthday party as Cinderella when I got into a bad car accident. Somebody ran a stop sign and plowed me right off the road.
Oh my gosh.
And luckily there was another princess also going to that party. So the party wasn't ruined, but my car was.
Oh,
and also my back. And I lost my other part-time job.
Oh my gosh.
So I couldn't work anymore because I was like in physical therapy for some months. And so I was sitting around with a tremendous headache at my parents' house recuperating, and I couldn't sleep one night. And so I went on the Something Awful forums that I'm a member of, and they have a lot of threads like ask me about being a skydiver and ask me about being a plumber. And I just wrote ask me about being a birthday party princess. And I drew a bunch of little pictures to go with it. So I was like, maybe somebody will read the thread if I put pictures in. Mm-hmm. And so I posted it up, and, people really liked it. And then Metafilter like found the link and put it up, and then like IO9, and then the Huffington Post did an interview, and then like a bunch of other people, and then I got an agent who like saw it and called me about it, and then I got a couple offers from Hollywood. Ooh, sounds so glamorous when I say it that way. I wanted to do a movie version, and right now my agent is working with a production company to pitch a TV series based on my job.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it kind of went everywhere. It kind of like sort of blew up. Yeah, they're talking to the networks right now. They've already done the treatment and everything. And so it kind of went like really crazy, really fast overnight. And so I said, well, for people who can't read the original thread because Something Awful has a paywall sometimes, I will make a separate blog so you can read it without having to like pay the $10 to register for Something Awful.
Right.
And then and eventually, after you have like a thread that's like 100 pages, I was just like, this is getting long enough. I'm just going to close it. Everybody who wants to read the rest, just go to my blog. And so I set it up on Patreon because, like I had a lot more stuff to do, but like at that point it became sort of a second job. So I was like, hopefully people will pay $1 a month to hear about this. They did.
Wow. That's awesome. I knew you were a party princess doing cool things. I knew you'd made TV appearances and interviews and stuff. But you're there in talks for a TV show about you. That's pretty cool.
I guess. I'm hoping if it works out, I get to write on it because that would be kind of fun. Or maybe I'll just draw the pictures if they need pictures.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Do the storyboarding.
Or maybe not. I don't know.
Would you get to act in it? Would you get to play yourself? Or...
No. It would be like one of those sitcoms, really. But it's not like a reality show. But
right.
I would like to have a bit part, where I just sit in a cafe somewhere and I'm in the background.
Nice.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that is crazy awesome. And so this how recently has that aspect of your life as a party princess begun? How recently has all this kind of visibility occurred?
That started over a year ago. I think it was November of last year, or was it? Sorry, I'm like trying to think of. I know in November of last year, I did an interview on NPR on All Things Considered with Jackie Leiden, who is fabulous. And they did a little like mini documentary for their website about me. And before that, I think I posted the article and the thread, and it kind of blew up sometime around June or May or June. So it's been like a year.
Wow.
I want to say.
That's awesome. And so that's, does it feel at all just kind of like over your head, overwhelming, just all the craziness that's happened just because that your story started kind of going viral?
A little bit. I was just at an anime convention in Dallas this weekend, ACON 25, their 25th anniversary. That's my favorite convention to go to, and I was a guest there as an artist, but a lot of people came up and said that they had actually read the Princess blog instead.
Oh, wow.
And wanted to know about that, and I did a panel about how cosplayers can put their skills to good use as professional costumers and everything outside of the cosplay community. And I said, if you make costumes and everything and you love to play a character, I have the job for you. It's called party entertaining. You can princess for a living. And I actually met a lot of girls there who were dressed as princesses, and I could pick them out in the crowd. I would walk up and say, "Hey, you party princess?" And they said, "I'm party princess." And I said, "Yeah, who you with?" "Oh, I'm with True Dreams and everything. And we're in Denton, that sort of thing." And it was funny to watch my handler or liaison, Marissa, was walking around with me, and she said, "How do you know which ones are?" Because there's a lot of girls here dressed as like Disney or their own sort of princesses. How do you know which one's party princess, which is like a verb that I use? I said, I just know. I know by the way she's acting, or I know by the quality of the wig she's wearing that's. I walked up to one girl and I said, "I know by that wig you party princess." And she's like, "Yes, I do. How did you know?" And I said, "Well, I write this blog." And she says, "Oh, are you birthday party princess? I read your blog."
Oh, wow.
And I mean, not to say there weren't a lot of fans there who were there for like my book series and everything, but it seemed like there were quite a few more just for the blog. And I thought that was kind of a weird, like, Venn diagram, like overlapping of cultures. There's cosplay community and then birthday party princess.
Right.
It was rather funny. I was like, I thought I was the only one who kind of did that.
So were you a cosplayer, or are you still a cosplayer outside of the party princess scene?
Oh yeah, I've been cosplaying for about 15 years now.
Okay.
And that's how I really got the job, was when I wrote to them and said I wanted a job. I sent in a bunch of pictures of me cosplaying as different characters and said I can make my own costumes too, or if you want to hire me, I'll make costumes for you too. And that's how I got the job. And my friend Becky, who recommended the job to me, is also a cosplayer turned party princess.
Wow.
And I know several other girls who are cosplayers turned party princess. So it's kind of a lucrative thing. It's sort of a natural thing, I guess. It just kind of evolves.
Yeah, natural progression. That makes sense. So did you have to go through like princess training when you got the gig?
I did have to go on several parties, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not like sort of on the job training, where we would be doing a party and my boss would be there as the hostess, and she'd say to the parents, "Hey, you get a free princess if you let this new girl tag along and let her, learn the ropes," so to speak. So I would be like an extra princess there for, that they wouldn't be paying for. And I just sort of hang back and watch what all the other girls were doing. Nice. And it was funny because I was like, boy, it's if only there was like a tutorial online, like teaching people how to party princess. And my boss said she'd actually shown her girls, the other girls, videos of like other party princesses online to learn how to be like them. Like a girl that I met before named Tracy Hines, who's very popular, and works with True Enchantment, and lots of people know her for being a party princess. And now it's funny because other companies are writing to me and saying, "Can you give my girls advice on how to be a party princess? Can you upload some videos?" And I said, "No, it's too silly. I only do it in person where there's no video evidence." But maybe I will. Maybe I'll do a couple like quick tutorials, because they're like, there really isn't anywhere where you can learn to do that. Mostly they watch how Disney park princesses act in videos and try to imitate that, but there's no set rule, and we do things a little bit differently from them. So maybe I'll put up some tutorials how to princess, because it is a verb.
Became one. So what would you say is the number one rule that as a party princess you cannot break? I have a feeling I know what it is, but I gotta ask.
Don't break character.
Yeah.
Don't stop smiling. And don't ever stop smiling. That's my mantra at parties is, when in doubt, smile harder. And if you can't think of anything to say, either laugh or say how wonderful. That's the name of my blog, actually, is How Wonderful. I want that to be the name of my memoirs. How wonderful. Because you get the little kids. Cinderella kids, when it was them in the tree, and then it's and there was the guy in the tree, and you could have been in there. Like, how wonderful. Like, I have no idea what you just said, but I'm going to say something. They don't even really want to ask you anything. They just want you to talk at them. They just want to, look in your eyes and say something. So they don't care what kind of response they get, as long as it's some sort of a response. How wonderful. And that's it.
You do that voice so perfectly. You sound exactly like a
It's funny because I've totally lost my voice from being at Acon. So
funny.
Because everybody wanted to hear how wonderful over and over, and so it's like.
So do you often? Because I can tell that's not your natural pitch of the voice.
No, it's not.
Do you often find yourself straining after doing that at parties and stuff?
If it's a long party, especially if you're Snow White, she has the highest voice of them all.
Yeah.
It's
oh my
just,
gosh.
It's painful to do, and the parents always want to play this one CD of Disney music at their parties, and like we try not to use anything trademarked, but they want to play it, and they want to see you sing along to the different dance princesses, and then you get to Snow White, and she's just I'm go back in time and chastise Walt Disney for like seriously. She's just like, I just love to skip and dance in circles all day long, and when we do it's like so freaking high, and it hurts. I mean, there was an AMA going around about a girl who played Snow White for the parks who developed like polyps on her vocal cords.
Oh my gosh.
Nodes or whatever they're called because of the voice that she had to do. And I kind of alternate between doing the princess voice and doing a voice for a puppet that I use named Fish Puppet, who is a man. So he's like, Fish Puppet here. I'm here live with somebody who doesn't talk like this. Blah, 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 blah. And then you have to go, well, that's wonderful, Fish Puppet. Like it's kind of like up and down. So you eat a lot of lozenges when you're a princess.
So do you have to, when you're doing the fish puppet, do you have to do ventriloquism with that?
No, it's I mean, they're very little kids.
So
He's just a hand puppet, and he just comes and yells at people. Mostly celebrities now, because he has his own YouTube channel where he does interviews, fish puppet interviews.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I just hold out a camera and yell at people with a fish. I originally started doing that for birthday parties, and it just kind of went from there. But yeah, it's hard to kind of go up and down the scale. So I have a very deep voice for a woman. And it's like you have to be way up there like, and then we're going to hear a wonderful story. And then
So who's your favorite princess?
Probably Cinderella, because I don't know. Her wig is really easy to put on. It's like a helmet of hair.
Nice, as opposed
like
to
curls.
Rapunzel.
Rapunzel. I'm gonna have to throw out my old wig, and that was a $250 wig. It's 4 feet long, and
oh my gosh,
and flowers in it, and it's been just wrecked up. Wow. Because you can't brush it. Like it takes hours and hours and hours, and it doesn't look any better. And I mean, we use a trick where we use 1/4 fabric softener and 3/4 water and use a spray bottle to spray through synthetic wigs and brush them. But when they're that long, it's just impossible. I went to one party smelling like I came out of somebody's dryer because I smelled very heavily of Downy. and I was like, oh dear, it's time for a new wig.
Nice. So who's your least favorite princess to be? You mentioned Snow White has the difficult voice, and I've seen
probably Snow White. She also has a velvet dress, and it's very hot.
Oh,
it's the most covered up of all the dresses, and has a big collar on the back and a little cape. So I sweat to death in that thing. Oh my gosh, I just hate it.
Which princess seems to be the most popular? Does it just tend to be whichever one is the newest? Like Frozen, I'm sure is incredibly popular right now.
Frozen's pretty big right now. We have our own sort of like off-brand versions. So we have like the Snow Queen and her sister. We don't have Elsa and Anna, but they're very popular right now, like extremely popular. I know when Rapunzel came out, like the movie, our Rapunzel was very popular, but we still get a lot of call for Cinderella and Belle. And although we call her Rose Beauty, and she looks different, we can't look the same as the park princesses, so we use the same color scheme.
Right.
We don't, use the same like copyrighted design.
Right. I'm sure there's the fine line you have to tiptoe. Are the costumes? Do you make them? Are they provided to you from your company, or?
Well, all the other girls, and I say girls because most of them are in high school. I'm the oldest princess because I'm 33. The rest of them, I think, top out at 17 or 18. So I'm twice as old as all the other girls. So when we get together, they're like, "And what college are you going to?" I was like, "Yeah, I graduated already." like freaking more than 10 years ago. They use the costumes that my boss provides. She has a local seamstress who made all of them. Since I work as more of an independent princess for her because I have my own car and because I don't have school or anything and she can send me out on longer drives, I use my own costumes. So I make my own personal set of costumes.
Oh, cool.
And a lot of cosplayers who turn princess prefer to make their own costumes. But for girls who don't sew or anything, they usually have a local seamstress who provides them.
That's awesome. So how did you get started in making your own costumes for cosplay and all that?
That was like 15 years ago. I went to my first anime convention and my friend said, everybody's going to be wearing costumes. Which back then by everybody, she meant 1 in maybe 40 people. But certainly not the 2 or 3 a minute that you see at cons now. But I said, oh my gosh, really? And so I had no idea how to sew. And I was at college, so I went out and got some tiger stripe fabric and a wig, and I was Lum from Urusei Yatsura, and that was kind of fun. And I said, boy, I really like making stuff. And I refused to take lessons for some stubborn idiot reason. So for the first, years, my costumes were pretty terrible. But I just learned by trial and error. And now I in addition to princessing, I also do costumes for a local children's theater and for an operetta company in New Jersey and a couple other places. So it kind of translates well into other jobs.
Cool. That's awesome.
It is awesome. It's great.
What is the hardest part of being a party princess?
Oh my gosh. I guess just dealing with how heavy and hot the costumes are. Yeah. Well, no, not really that. I think it's like, I don't know. I would say a lot of things are difficult. I wouldn't say they're terribly hard. I don't know. I guess knowing how to improvise on the job, because the parents, they expect you to keep it going at all times. You're always supposed to be in control. You're not supposed to stand there and look to the parents if something bad happens. You have to be in control. So if you turn around like, let's all get together and we're going to do a fun dance. And then you turn around and you look at your CD player and the CD in it is busted. And you're like, but first, who wants to hear a story? And then you sit down and read a story, and by then they've forgotten about the dance. And if they do remember, you're like, of course, right after cake. And right after cake, you're like, well, bye-bye. Just hopefully you just kind of distract them. I've had that problem before where I was like, now we're all going to have cake. And the mom comes out and gives me a look like, no, we're not done setting it up. And I was like, right after this, and that sort of thing. Or you have a whole set routine planned out, but the kids, the parents say, yeah, there's going to be 5 or 10 kids, and they're all going to be between the ages of 4 and 6. Perfect. I got my little kid stuff with me. You show up, and there's 20 kids, and the average age is 9 or 10. I'm too old for those stories. And so you're like, well, this book's going right back in the basket, and we're going to do something else. And they go, oh, what's in your basket? What's in your basket? And you don't want to say, it's a book I was going to read you, but you're too smart for it. So you're like, oh, it's a surprise for later. Thankfully, later never comes because they've already forgotten that you told them that. It's a lot of deflecting and distracting and smoke and mirrors. And you have to know how to talk to kids and diffuse situations.
That's great.
So you have to be able to think on your feet. You don't last long if you only go by the set routine that they teach you, and every time something goes bad, you kind of look around for help because you don't last.
What is the worst party you've ever had to do?
Oh my God. Well, it's never good when you show up and it's 10 a.m. and the mom is already drunk.
Oh.
Which happens quite a bit.
Oh, my gosh.
Especially when you get in those McMansion sets and you've got mothers who've decided to be homemakers, but they've already got a nanny that they kind of throw their kids at every morning and a housekeeper to clean the house, and they have nothing to do but kill a bottle of wine at the club. So we did show up once to a party where everybody was drinking huge, at that point you have to call them goblets of red wine, and the whole place stank of red wine. and the house was really crowded and tiny and was dirty. They hadn't like cleaned up or set up a table for us to work on, so we had to do the crafts on the floor, which hadn't been swept, and like the kids' playroom like smelled of like kid pee, and it was giving. I was the hostess there, and it was giving the princess who was there with me like a headache. Like she was actually like kind of feeling nauseous, and I was like, "This is the worst party ever." But we were nice and we were like fun during it and everything, and and we tried our best. And the kids were more or less, pretty enthused about it. It wasn't easy to work with.
Wow, that sounds awesome. Now, you mentioned, do you ever have to deal with like the adults getting out of line at all? I know you mentioned sometimes you have to deal with in your blog somewhere you mentioned having to deal with creeps sometimes. Is that something you have to run into much?
No, thankfully, with like a lot of children present, it kind of like tamps that down. Like they're not going, like the uncles aren't going to hit on the princess if like their niece is there. So as long as you stay like all around the children and all the kids are around, then it's pretty much the only problems are confined to people who think that they're high functioning alcoholics and that nobody can tell. You can absolutely tell. You're like the mom's just been into the box wine just a little bit right before you got there, and but other than that, they're pretty good. I think the one problem I have most is when people criticize birthday party princesses and say, "Oh, you're what terrible standard of femininity, and you're teaching girls to only value their appearance and blah 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 blah." When we get there, our compliments to the children are like, "You are so smart. You're so athletic at that. Boy, I bet you do really well in school." Whereas the parents will set them up and say, "Don't you look gorgeous in your dress? Don't you look so pretty? You're as pretty as a princess. You look like a bride." And the little boys are there and they say, "Boy, you look so strong. Can you do an action pose? Can you pose like you're a hero?" And then, to the little girls, "Can you pose like you're a pretty, pretty princess?" And I was like, these are your kids. And, and we've had parents where like the little boys will be playing the guessing games with us and they'll guess like, "Oh, that song is from Cinderella." And I've had parents go like, "Man, Randy, what the heck? I'm gonna, revoke your man card."
Oh.
Grandpa's like, "It's time to take it to your ballet lesson, Randy." I was like, "This is your kid.
Oh my
what does the matter with you?"
Wow.
And I'm like, "It's okay, Randy. It's okay for boys to know that. That just means you're really smart. It's really good to be really smart." And the little boy's like, "Yes, thank you." And he's got his head in his hands and he's ashamed. I was like, the parents more than anything reinforce these awful stereotypes.
Wow.
And that kind of bothers me, and I will go out of my way to correct them where, the little girls will be like, "Can I have this plate?" And the mother will be like, No, that's a Spider-Man plate. That's for boys. You want a princess plate. And I'll come over and say, "Oh my, is this a Spider-Man plate? I love Spider-Man." And all the little girls will go, "I want a Spider-Man plate. I want a Spider-Man plate." Because the princess has one. Stick it, upper class wife. It's okay to have a spider. It's a paper plate. She doesn't have to have a pink one. That's just dreadful.
Well, that's probably a good segue into this question. What's the most rewarding part of being a party princess?
I think it's that no matter how awful you feel like you look or act or are, like the little kids think you're the best thing in the whole world. So if you've been having a crappy day, then you go and do a princess party and you got like the little kids climbing all over you and they always say like, "I want to be you when I grow up. You're the prettiest person you're the nicest person I've ever seen." It's like having your own little portable fan club.
Right.
And when we do the wishing game, like, "What would you wish for if you could have one big wish today?" And half of them are like, "I want to be you." And I was like, "Awesome. You're going to have to drink a lot more Diet Pepsi." "Can you kill a case a day? Good. You're me already." but I think that's the most rewarding is seeing the kids so happy when you walk in and they say, "Look who it is, everyone. It's the princess." And you go, "Oh, happy birthday, Rowena." And Rowena's just deer in the headlights like, oh my God, she's really here in my house. Like kids look like they're going to pass out or like throw up or something. They're so in shock, and they just kind of like clamp around your waist and won't let go for an hour. You have to pry them off after the party. And they're like, you're going to come back and visit me, right? And let me introduce you to my goldfish. I got formally introduced to a goldfish once. That was the best. With much fanfare, I was ushered into a room, and she says, and here he is. And there was just this goldfish in a bowl, like, what's up? And I was like, oh, so nice to meet you, Mr. Fish. And they're like, his name is Mr. Fish. How did you know? I was like, oh, Princess Intuition. And I was just like curtsy to a fish in a bowl. I was like, hello. I've never met a fish socially before. I'm not sure who gets introduced first. But it is kind of funny.
That's
and
great.
Kids actually do say the darndest things.
Yeah. So sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So has your yeah, I know you mentioned, and I'm sure you were joking, but you mentioned when your friend first told you about, you know, the job of being a party princess, you're like, I don't even like kids. Has your interactions with kids changed you in any way in terms of your relationship with kids in general, your understanding of them?
Well, I still insist, to the chagrin of my parents, that I will never have any of my own. Thank you very much. I'm not a mom, but I do like kids an awful lot more. And you know, when I see them out and about in the grocery store and they're crying, I'll go over with like a stuffed animal on my backpack and be like, "Hey, little man, why so glum?" And they'll be like, "Ha ha, look at that," you know. And I'm a lot more, you know, we'll be at a store. My roommate will be like, oh, and swear. And I'll be like, shh, there are little kids around. Like, don't do that. There's children.
Nice.
You know, that sort of thing. I feel like I look out for them a lot more than I used to. I mean, cool. I still did. I still never swore around kids when I was in the store. But now I'll just be like, is that shirt really appropriate to wear in public? There are little children. You don't know. Is that graphic T-shirt? That's a little suggestive. Put that away. You know, I tend to get a little bossy around people when kids are around. I'm like, shh, don't say that. You know.
That's great. So let's talk a little bit about Patreon. This is Patreon podcast after all. That's how I found you. When people ask, what is Patreon, how do you answer?
I say that it's pretty much the way that Da Vinci and other Renaissance artists used to get their shit going. Oops, I'm not supposed to. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this. You can just bleep me out.
That's all right.
Oops. You know, you have a patron who, you know, provides you money in order to do creative work, which is exactly how many Renaissance people operated. Mm-hmm. They still sold things and everything, but they also had a patron who would allow them to indulge in their artistic endeavors. Mm-hmm. And so I'd say that my blog is free for anybody to read at all, but if you really want to contribute and help me put out new content that is, you know, takes up quite a little bit of time to make every month, then, you know, hey, toss $1 my way. It's $1 a month. Yeah. Come on, that's like a cup of coffee, you know. And, you know, all you have to do is just pledge once. And if you ever feel like, oh, I can't contribute this month, then you can just go in and scale it back. Mm-hmm. And it's not a pay to view sort of thing. So you don't have to pay. You don't feel obligated. But if you really love the artist and you want to support what they're doing, then you have that option. And you can, you know, I put up a lot of special extras for people who are patrons. I put up tutorials on how to make certain props in my job, and special videos for them, and special commentaries on different things, you know, things that only they can see. So it's kind of cool. That's cool.
Yeah. And so you've got a few different levels of incentives where people can support you on an ongoing basis. And at the $1 level, it's $1 per video and blog post that you release, and you've in addition to the free content that everybody gets anyways, they do get some of that exclusive content that's just for the patrons. So you mentioned you'll answer questions from viewers, upcoming content, can just generally hang out together. I like that. You've also got at the $5 or more level. Exclusive video messages every month. At the $10 or more level, they can get, this is cool, one free customized princess video sent to you or whomever you'd like from the princess character of your choice at the end of your first month. So that's really cool. Lots of fun incentives just as a thank you to the people who are supporting you and helping you reach your milestones, which let's talk about some of those, if I can get my computer to work.
Yeah, only 2 people have actually requested those free videos, which is odd. I thought most people would be like, well, it's been a month, give me my free princess video, because I do like to do them. I guess most people are just like, you know what, I'm just giving you money to do what you do. I don't need a princess video.
That's cool.
But I have done some videos for people's kids or for their nieces, so
that's cool.
It's an awful lot of fun to do.
That's awesome. So your milestones are the next milestone, which you're getting really close to, is many drawings. What is that one?
Well, I do drawings for some posts, and usually ones that are just recaps of different parties that I've done. Mm-hmm. But the many drawings one is that you will get drawings for every single post that I put up, every single Patreon covered post, which is fun because I think a lot of people said that they really love the drawings, like they love the stories 50% and the drawings 50%, because the drawings are kind of silly and have like a lot of goofy little kid drawings of them struggling around in their big princess poofy costumes and doing goofy stuff. But yeah, that's my next milestone, and I would like to hit that because I really want to draw more drawings.
That's great.
Make drawings.
And if people want to support you, they can find you at patreon.com/partyprincess. And then you've also got other milestones as well. You've got Story with the Princess once a month, and is this where you film and release one Story with the Princess video per month? So you'll be a different princess in an amazing costume sitting in her castle. Do you have a castle?
I don't have a castle. I have a design for a little stage to be built inside my house, like an actual stage that's a castle backdrop with the armchair and matching furniture and gold mirrors and everything. And I've collected some of it, but that milestone, as soon as we reach it, will pay to cover the rest of the decoration plus the filming and making the costumes. And I thought that would be a fun idea because I wanted to do videos that people can watch with their kids and, see a princess read them a story, maybe like a bedtime story, and not just like the usual Disney fare, sort of like, like a Grimm's fairy tale selection, maybe a story they haven't heard a million times over. And, it would be a nice little video for kids to watch, maybe in the car, just mommy hands them her iPad and they can watch Story with a Princess when they're on a long trip and that sort of thing.
Will you at least give them a more Disney-esque ending than, say, Babes in the Woods might give you?
There will be very little Hans Christian Andersen. I really don't want everybody to die but learn an important message about God or whatever. Everybody's dead, but at least they all died Christians. I was like, yeah, let's maybe skip some of those. And I was, when I was a kid, I was a huge fan of the colored fairy books, like the Blue Fairy Book and the Violet Fairy Book. And I was at a charity visit to the local hospital because we also do a lot of charity events at CHOP Children's Hospital and St. Christopher's. And I was at St. Chris, and I said, okay, I'm going to bring the Blue Fairy Book to read from. I'm going to read this little girl a story, who's a social worker, had set up the meeting. And I was like, I can't find one story in here that doesn't include murder. I'm just going to read her The Frog Prince. That's like literally the only one I could find that wasn't either like 1,000 pages long or like contained murder.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe when she's 9 or 10, like the age I was when I started reading these, then we'll bump her up to those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think maybe I will read some classics, but I'll make them a little bit nicer. Although one time I told the Snow Queen to a little girl I was face painting, and I updated it to have a car chase and armed polar bear warriors. She was like, this sounds like a great story. I'm like, it is. Go home and read it. It might be a little different in their retelling, but trust me, it's great.
Yeah. I always include, I read stories to my kids. I always include an editorial on the story itself, like the very busy spider. I'm not actually a fan of that spider because he's really antisocial and rude. All these animals are trying to talk to him, and he's just completely shutting them out. And so,
yeah. I have written a couple like original stories for kids that I've acted out when I bring my fox puppet, Madame Fortuna. And, and she comes from Winter Run Forest, and she tells them stories about Winter Run Forest, and this like I read a lot of Redwall when I was a kid.
Okay.
Like, so that's, if anybody's heard of Redwall, that's kind of where I was at when I was making that up.
Nice.
Morphized animals who live in a forest, and so she tells some stories like that. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll do a couple original stories, maybe ones they haven't heard yet. So I hope to meet that goal very soon.
Awesome. And then there's other milestones where you can increase the frequency of these princess videos, and at your highest goal, 2 Story with the Princess videos a month, fish puppet fan mail, which you mentioned your fish puppet that does interviews there, and every blog post illustrated, and tell us about a princess music video.
Oh, my friends and I are setting that up. We like to do little music videos where we dance and sing and like do these sorts of things. And I said, guys, if we meet this goal, how many of you are available? Because they're all cosplayers or party princesses.
Right.
So they already have the costumes. And I was like, would you want to do this? I can't tell you the song we're going to use because it's a surprise.
Right.
But it's really great. And I said, and I got a friend who does photography and filmmaking and all this other stuff. And I was like, guys, how many are on board for this? They're like, just tell us when we need to get together to rehearse and we will do it. And it's going to be killer.
That is awesome. That is really awesome. And one of the things that's not mentioned in the milestones or in the incentives, but I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, is these people supporting you in your blogging and art surrounding your party princess gig aren't just supporting you in the ways you mentioned in your milestones. They're not just supporting you and then they'll get some incentives, or they'll allow you to create some princess videos. But there's also some cool stuff that you're doing that you're not getting paid for, right?
Yeah, we do a lot of charity functions, and that it's funny you should mention that, because I just put up a post on my blog about we're doing another charity visit on the 16th. Mm-hmm. So in a couple of days here, to the Eliza Shirley House, which is a shelter and in Philadelphia for single mothers or single fathers with children. And there's a lot of children there who are homeless, and they may be coming from abusive families, or their whole family may be homeless, and they live at that shelter. And my boss has in the past done charity like free birthday parties or just any kind of party, like a princess and pirate party for them. And this year we're doing it again. We're doing a princess and superhero party. And I asked Patreon people if they'd be willing to donate 50 cents or $1 to our cause, because the children, we really want to give them gift bags like we did last time. But instead of the usual glitter stickers and pencils and everything, like what we did last time, we gave them toothbrushes, toothpaste, things they need, wash towels. Like these, they have nothing, and they need just the bare essentials. You wouldn't believe the things that they don't have access to because they live in a shelter. Yeah. Like some of these kids have only the clothes on their back and just a few belongings. So we hit up local businesses to donate items, and I was thinking, we're having a little bit harder time getting donations again this year. So I was thinking, if anybody wants to donate, it would be really terrific, because then we can, get them, we can include security blankets or like a little stuffed friend that, makes it all a world of difference to kids who are living in a scary new place. And, they need a little friend to hang out with them, or maybe like a colorful toy from the dollar store. Not expensive things, but things that mean an awful lot to kids who have nothing. And we already got some donations. I mean, we need so much more, but every tiny little bit helps, and it would be really terrific. And we're going to take that money and, spend a night putting together all these bags for the kids, and then go entertain them and give them a great big party with all the superheroes and the princesses and everyone. And they're ages 3 to 10, and they are just out of their minds happy, looking forward to the party. They cannot wait. They really cannot wait, because, they don't get a lot of good stuff there. And so Patreon has been invaluable in helping me with that. And I think I did another blog post a little while ago when I had an Indiegogo funding thing for getting a new serger which for people who don't know, that's like a sewing machine, but it's for, it's important for like finishing seams on the inside. It makes sewing easier. Okay. And we got that for the local children's theater that I do costumes for, so they could have really nice costumes for their Aladdin show. But I couldn't afford a surgery. It was like $250. Mm-hmm. We ended up getting twice as much, so I could buy all the accessories and the thread and everything. And I just did a video with them that I'm going to post as a thank you video where all the kids are yelling, "Thank you so much, thank you," and they're all wearing their costumes and they're all terribly excited. and so I'm going to post that up in a little while. And it's not just when you're a patron of mine, you're not just supporting me doing little drawings and telling you about my job. You're making it easier for me to do charity visits to the hospitals, to the shelters, to other places where, the kids can't afford a big party. They can't afford a birthday party, and we will do it for free when we work with their social workers and everyone. Yeah. So it's you're not just supporting me, you're supporting a lot of kids who would really, really love to have like a terrific party and wouldn't be able to get it otherwise. Yeah.
Then you I think you mentioned in your Patreon page, sometimes you have to turn down some of these charity opportunities, these princessing opportunities, right? So that you can, because you have to have an income, right? So you have to have, so sometimes you'll have a private art commission or something, right? That you have to do instead. So would Patreon potentially allow you to be able to turn down fewer of these opportunities?
Yeah, I've turned down very few charity opportunities. Whenever my boss, asks us if we can do it, and she doesn't, we know that we're not getting paid by her, and that everything like the parking and the gift bags, because she goes all out and gets gift bags for the kids. They're all coming out of her pocket. Yeah, and our and we're donating our free time. And there's been points where I've said, I really, 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 really want to do this charity visit, but if I don't get this commission, I am literally not going to have money to pay for food or rent. Right. And so I've had to turn it down. And with Patreon, it allows me to have the money to pay for that, where if someone says, "Hey, I want to commission you for a poster or whatever," and my boss says, "Hey, we've got this great charity party going on for the kids at the hospital." If I've got money coming in from Patreon, I can say, "Sorry, commission guy, you can wait till next month. I'm going to go do this party." So awesome. It directly impacts me being able to help out the kids, because the more free time I have, the less time I'm devoted to scraping along on commissions, the more time I have to give to kids in need.
That is so awesome. So when you support Marty on Patreon, you're not just supporting her art and creativity, which in itself is awesome and great to read her blogs and see her video posts and cartoons and stuff. But you're also supporting some great charity work that she's doing that's really making a lot of kids happy. And what's a better cause than something that makes kids happy, kids in need happy, right?
Oh, yeah. We did the St. Christopher's prom for the oncology department. It was a prom. It started out as a prom for kids too sick to go to their own prom, but then started to include all the younger children, the children in the chemo ward, and all the other people. And I remember she couldn't spare any princess except me. All the other ones had already been booked for things that day. And so I sent out an SOS to my friends who were cosplayers in the area, and I recruited 3 of them, and they already had their costumes. And
it's
I said,
party princess militia.
I deputized them as party princesses, and we went out there and did the party, and the kids were so just utterly thrilled. They were thrilled beyond belief, and they all wanted to get into the little video booth that had been donated and take little sticker pictures with us 1,000 times. And my friends said, "I want to do this for a living. This is so great." The kids are so excited, and they were sweating to death. And by the end of they were like, "Oh, I've never sweat before like this in my life in any costume, but it was worth it."
That is so awesome. So again, that's at patreon.com/partyprincess. You are multi-talented. You make your own costumes. You can portray this princess in such a very princessy way. And
which is because I am so not princess. Well, I like I like sparkles and pink, and my friends always say, "Who's the biggest princess?" Marty is. But when I'm at home, I'm like, I'm gonna walk around in boxer shorts and watch Ninja Turtles. Woo! You know.
Yeah. Are there any other creative passions or talents that we haven't talked about yet?
I like inventing. I like building mechanical things.
Oh, really?
And that sort of thing. I like puppeteering, and I don't know if being loud and awful in public is a talent, but I'm really good at it. No. No, I do that for free. That's not even. I don't charge for that. Just go to your local ShopRite. You'll see me.
That's great. Have you ever, because you've got all these different, talents and kind of creative pursuits? I know for me personally, I get creative ADD where I struggle to narrow, because I'm passionate about so many different things. I sometimes struggle to narrow it down to just, okay, I got to just focus on one thing so I can actually accomplish something, which is why I'm podcasting for the next 5 seconds. But how about you? Do you ever struggle to kind of, sift through?
All the time. My dad always has to call me up and be like, remember your core competencies, which is like his way of saying don't get distracted. When I was out at Acon this weekend, I had Fish Puppet with me, and he was doing an interview with Michael Sinter-Nicholas, who is a voice actor who's a terrific guy, and he does the voice of Dean Venture on the Venture Brothers and does the voice of Leonardo from the 2003 Ninja Turtle series. And Fish Puppet loves to do interviews. He's done like Mythbusters and some other people, and just children. Wow. He loves to talk to children, and he talked to a service dog named Sophie. and I was there, and somebody said, "Oh, I know that fish." And I was like, wait, what? I thought I only had like 3 watchers on YouTube. I thought I was just doing this for my own amusement. They said, no, I've seen Fish Puppet. I've seen GIFs of him on Tumblr. I was like, wait, what? And so they're like, yeah, when's he doing new interviews? And I was like, well, I'm doing all these other things. I got this other blog. And someone says, hey, when are you putting out that webcomic you've been talking about? You're doing a new webcomic for that new comic book series you did, the Elephant Book. I was like, yes, just hang on. I got to get home from the convention first. And they're like, yeah, are you like, are you going to do that Party Princess thing? Like you were talking about an art book for that. Is that happening? I really want to buy that right now. And I was like, wait, just hang on. And it's just outrageous. Like, don't even get me started. I was talking to a casting agency a couple months ago about being on this TV show, and I was like, I've got too much going on, and I don't know what to. So my dad always calls up every like 5 days, and he's like, remember your core competency is art. And I was like, right, okay, thanks, Dad.
That's awesome. Your core competence. That's funny.
Like core.
So is there anybody in your life that you consider kind of your creative inspiration or maybe inspiration in general?
I think my dad is my financial inspiration in that he helps me run my little like online business, and he's always calling me up and saying, stop spending money on stupid stuff. And I was like, I can't help it. I love stupid stuff. But I think my dad is definitely my inspiration for keeping my business together and remembering what's important and not going off on flights of fancy where I was like, what if I got my face printed on waffles? That would be fun. Like, let's go make a silly video and blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, you got to get back to work. And I was like, right. Because I am a workaholic. I will work like to death. I will sleep very little and work forever. But sometimes like I forget what work is most important. So I'll stay up for like, 24-hour state, inking a picture that I was like, this is just for fun. And I was like, wait a minute, I could have been like making money here. Like I could have been doing something important. So yeah, I think my dad is my business inspiration.
That's good. So before we when we were planning this interview, I asked you ahead of time what your inspirational quote is, and you said, when in doubt, smile harder, which I think you mentioned earlier.
I didn't know if that was supposed to be like inspirational coming from someone else, like because that's just what I say.
That's okay.
I didn't know, like I don't want to be my own inspiration. That sounds like a real jerk thing.
If you inspire yourself, I'm not going to judge. I think
my inspirational other people quote is from Diana Hunt, which I have like cut out on a little piece of paper and stuck on my desk. I'm looking at it right now. It says, "Goals are dreams with deadlines."
Nice.
So I put that up there.
That's good. That's good. So what's your goal?
I I'm still figuring that out. I guess I think it's to be awesome, but I haven't really defined that completely yet. But my goal is to die and have a headstone that says, you know, Marty, like in 1981, 2 question marks, she was awesome, and that was it. I like to think that it's a mini goal. I wake up every day, and at night I think, was I awesome today? Yes, goal accomplished.
Nice. If that will make me awesome, I will do that thing. That's
cool. Is that awesome? Is it awesome to give to charities? Yes. Is it awesome to go by the guy with a can outside of the ShopRite who's a vet and not give him $1? No. So there you go. It's clearly, it's just clear cut. Is it awesome? Yes, then do it.
Nice. I think Bill and Ted would probably approve of that.
It's excellent.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's, you know, excellent, awesome. It's all the same.
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast, letting me chat, let me find out about not only being a party princess, which now I'm considering being a party princess because I think
you make a good superhero. I mean, it is good money for the weekends and for students. So
I think I might be too frumpy for being a superhero. I don't know. I'll have to see. Maybe.
No, wait. We build the muscles right into the suit. It's no big deal.
Sweet. All right. Sign me up. Sign me up then. So before I let you go, where can our listeners connect with you?
I'm on Twitter as Assassin Sparkle, awesome. Because my original forum name was Assassin Princess.
Nice.
But I'm on Twitter as that. My main website for all my comic books and my princessing and all my, like, the hub of everything I do is bizandgas.com, which is hard to spell. It's the name of the series.
We'll have a link in the show notes. Yeah, it's BIZENGHAST. But other than that, you can just go to birthdaypartyprincess.tumblr.com, and that's my Patreon blog. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Marty, and thank you, listeners, as well. You can find all the show notes and links to Marty's Patreon page and other projects at patreonpodcast.com/partyprincess. And, of course, you can find us on Patreon, iTunes, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. We're all over this whole internet thing, so just go to patreonpodcast.com. All the links are right there. Until next time, keep pursuing and sharing your creative passions, and we will talk to you next week.